Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, it's time for below grade level. Watch out, we're right behind you.
Hello and welcome to Below Grade Level, the show where we take the books that we read as kids and read them as adults and ruin them. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Eaton. With me as always is Bekah Eaton.
Hello.
And Chris Zaleski.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Man.
I know how Bekah's doing because I'm doing the same. Because we tried to make tater tots tonight for dinner and it fucked up. It was bad.
Yeah, and that is the only problem we're experiencing in life.
It's
just the tots and nothing else.
It's just the tots. There's no other work stress at all in both of our jobs.
More like
stress.
tater knots.
Car stress. Oh yeah, I got in a car accident this week.
What?
Our guest today.
Sorry. Nothing for
elaborate
tater
a little.
knots. Come on.
I'll elaborate.
I did like tater knots.
They were
I'm
tater
just
knots.
dead inside, Chris. I'm sorry.
We have a special guest on this episode, returning champion Jamie Noguchi. Hello, Jamie. How are you doing?
You can't just drop I got into a car
Right.
accident and go introduce your guest.
Welcome to our show.
I'm going to derail it from Jump Street.
I got it wasn't bad and I'm fine. It's one of those things that's more irritating than anything else. I got sideswiped on White Marsh Boulevard.
Oh.
This lady just drove into me, like just changing lanes and just drove it. I was telling Bekah earlier, I was just driving. I went to IKEA for work to buy some shit, and I was driving to my office, and I was having a great time listening to fucking Huey Lewis in the news. I was driving the speed limit, and the next thing I know, I just hear kaboom, and a fucking car hit my car.
Oh, no.
And to the dulcet sounds of Power of Love, I screamed, "What the fuck?"
He was driving down a one-way street.
Driving. Oh shit. Yeah, I pulled over in front of her. For anyone who's not listening, who's not familiar with White Marsh Boulevard, it's just a 2-lane highway with no shoulder, and there's nothing around whatsoever. So I pulled over in front of her with my hazards on, and I'm like, frazzled. And my first thought is, I don't want to be here. It's bad.
Yeah.
So I get out of my car and I run over to her car, which is behind me, and I'm like trying to get her to roll her window down, but she will not do, and she's just looking at me, and she's not rolling her window down.
Oh,
and
no.
all I'm trying to do is like get her to roll her window down so I can say, "Can we go somewhere and pull over to be safer?" And she rolls her window down and goes, "Ah!" and points, and I look up and I forgot to put my emergency brake on, so my car rolled back into her.
Oh,
What? Oh my god.
And
Well,
and
how
from
long
there,
was it rolling back into her before she unrolled the window and she's like, maybe he'll notice?
I don't know. I wasn't that far ahead. I want to say it was like 5 to 10 feet. It was not.
Oh my
I
god,
didn't,
your poor insurance companies. How are they going to parse this out?
you know how they parse it out? I found out tonight. All her fault, motherfucker.
Nice.
Full liability.
Yay!
Yay. Now I have to take my car to the Allstate approved location called Crash Champions.
Jesus.
Which just sounds like a demolition derby lot.
I have
Crash champion.
really high hopes for my experience. Getting my car fixed.
This episode brought to you by Crash Champions.
Grave digger.
Were you in a car accident and you have Allstate and you live near Bel Air Road?
Sunday. Monster Arena. Monster Jam.
So anyway,
Jam.
that's the energy I'm bringing to the podcast.
Forgetting to leave your brake on. Is that the energy?
Yeah, fucking yes.
You idiot.
I like to
So
see you do any
stupid.
better under pressure.
Oh, man, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, your
I
brake
don't-
thing's weird too because it's a button.
It's a
It's
button.
not like the
Yeah.
yank
Yeah.
thing.
I have a weird new
Like
car.
a
Everything's a
normal car.
button. You just
Oh.
press a
I
yeah.
hate it.
That's gross.
But it's still
Yeah.
a stick shift, so it's like a necessary thing.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
I drive it
makes
automatic
sense.
now. I don't have to worry about that shit anymore.
Yeah. Jamie, what was do you remember the last? You were on once before. Do you remember the book you read? I
I
cannot.
don't, but there was like some kind of slumber party,
Slumber Party.
That could be a lot of
Maybe
them.
that was Babysitter's Club
and there was like
or Sweet Valley High.
there was a
Yeah.
pool.
That was Sweet Valley High. I think that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
really gross one. And
I remember Jessica getting thrown in the pool
yeah,
or something.
That was
Yeah,
the really like upsetting
yeah.
book.
Well,
that was
Jamie,
the
you
book-
are in for a treat with this one.
Yeah, this is way better
Excellent.
for sure.
Sweet
Have
Valley
you
got
ever read
shit
any-
on this.
Have you ever read any Christopher Pike before?
No, I read a lot of comic books, so I this entire genre is like new to me. So when
Gotcha.
I was on the first time, I was just like, oh, this shit's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well,
Oh,
this shit
Jesus
is
Christ.
turbo crazy.
This is
Christopher
another
Pike
level of
is
crazy.
absolutely wild.
This Christopher Pike shit is the type of thing that I think I can't believe they marketed this to like children basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
teenagers. It's nuts.
I bet it sold well too.
It probably did. I read them. I
I mean,
remember
he's
reading
worked
this.
for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must have sold well, or they wouldn't have made Midnight Club.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
they made a TV show out of it. Okay, Becca, do you want to catch us up on what happened last time?
Okay, so last time.
By the way, we're reading Master of Murder is the name of the book.
Master.
Which, like every Christopher Pike book, it's ambiguous as to who that is,
Yeah.
like what that means.
we don't have any clarification on Master of Murder as of yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so last time Marvin and Shelley went on their dinner date. They went to a dinner and a movie. As I recall, I didn't write it in my notes, but as I recall, he fell asleep during the movie.
He did.
In
yes.
the movie theater.
I don't know why, but he definitely fell asleep.
He drove them there on his motorcycle and then fell asleep
I mean, it's like January.
in the movie theater. Yeah.
He wasn't able to find a car, so they had to drive like in the freezing cold
Yeah.
on a motorcycle.
So on the way back, they stop on a bridge over the river and have like a weird little heart-to-heart about how she wants to be a plastic surgeon. They go back to her house because her parents are out of town and get in her hot tub and have some absolutely horrific banter.
They get in her hot tub fully nude.
Fully nude, even
Yeah.
though she talks about having like a dozen bathing suits or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth about like what are we gonna wear in the hot tub, and it's the
Yeah.
worst flirting you've ever heard.
all of the dialogue is atrocious.
Oh no.
And so then Shelley reveals that she thinks her ex-boyfriend Harry was actually murdered rather than killing himself. And she wants Marvin to find the killer, even though she doesn't know, as far as we know, that
Right.
he's a murder mystery writer. So he's just a fucking teenage boy to her.
Yes.
You boy,
As far
find
as
out,
we know,
please.
like, hey, you're a peer. You can solve mysteries better than the police. So
You saw my boobs, now investigate.
yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, she's fully honeypotting him into solving her ex-boyfriend's
there was a
murder.
moment after she confesses, like, I don't think Harry killed himself. I think he was murdered. Now I'm sad. I don't want to make out anymore.
Yeah.
And she starts to get out of the hot tub, and he's like, I'll turn away. And she's like, you don't have to. So he
jeez.
doesn't. He watches her fully naked get out of the hot tub. And, like, specifically, the book says, like, that he didn't find it attractive.
I had blocked out all of that.
It was
I forgot
really-
about all of that.
Oh.
He's like, this isn't hot now that she's sad.
Oh God. Oh, that's the worst.
Jesus.
It really was.
So then he gets another creepy letter in the mail that says she doesn't love you, and he's starting to think that someone is watching him at the post office. And then, as far as I can tell from my notes, nothing else really happened.
If I remember, there was a whole chapter where he talked to his editor. That was nothing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's just continuing to lie to his
Yeah.
editor about the progress on his book, which is nothing.
Which is
He has
nothing.
not
He hasn't
started
started
writing it yet,
writing his
even
book.
though it is past
I feel so.
due.
I feel so called out right now.
He feels seen.
You just have to wait for the power to flow through you,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Jesus, I do. I need the power to flow through me to draw these pages.
I'm starting to think it's just the Force. He's just like just waiting for the force to like manifest in him.
I think he's fully possessed with like a murder demon. A murder demon that's also a writer.
Or he's just a procrastinating 17-year-old.
Probably that.
I would never think of some rando to investigate my significant other's death.
Yeah.
No.
That I would call Columbo or like
Yeah, it would be like asking any one of your regular friends.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
Johnny
hey, Chris,
Dollar. Yeah.
Jonathan killed himself, but I don't think he killed himself. I think he was murdered. Chris, will you help me solve this crime?
yeah,
Yeah, but
no,
I'm
you're
the wrong
capable.
I'm the wrong person to ask that because I'd be drunk as shit and be like, I totally could solve this crime.
Yeah, we are all the wrong person to
I'm a
ask that.
detective.
I don't know. You might end up being some sort of weird, like, drunk Columbo.
But like, Jessica Jones, Johnny Dollar, like any other detective rather than rando 17-year-old
Yeah.
thought I was
Teenage
hot until I
buddy.
showed him my boobs,
Yeah. Chris, being drunk doesn't make you a bad detective. Don't you remember the first Christopher Pike book we read?
Yeah.
That featured a drunk detective
And who was very much Columbo.
who was
He had all
Columbo.
those like bathroom patterns down.
Oh my god.
me, ma'am.
Just one more
Okay.
thing, Mrs. Dufresne.
It's Mrs. Dufresne. I don't know
I
why
can't
that's
do the eye thing,
I
but
don't know why it's the perfect name to say in that voice.
it's the syllables.
Okay, and if
Dufresne.
as far as voices go, we've got a couple voices going on. I think
I don't remember them.
when Marvin's inner monologue, he's
Yeah.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember why. But it kind of it works.
Yeah, his little sister was Bobby Hill,
Bobby
which is
Hill.
basically every child in any of these books.
Yeah.
Spinelli from Recess.
There's a guy that we haven't seen in a while since like the first chapter
Triad?
named Triad, who was just Danny Zuko from Greece.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And then I
Yes.
don't think Shelley really has a voice.
No, Shelley's she's kind of badass and also psycho.
She's badass and batshit crazy.
yeah, she's super crazy. I like just
Kathleen Turner, which none of us can do an impression of.
yeah, not even gonna attempt. Okay. Let's find out what happens next in Master of Murder. Chapter 6. Marvin went to the library after leaving Shelley's house. He couldn't solve his own fictional murder mystery, so he figured he might as well try to crack Shelley's. Once at the library, he dug through the year-old stacks of Sessa bulletins. Sessa is the town they live in.
Ah, okay.
Sessa is the town they live in, and Pella is the town next to Sessa, and it's just I don't like the names of either of them.
Yeah,
and I
they're
don't
both
like.
bad.
Are they East Coast, West Coast,
West Coast.
Midwest? Oh, West Coast.
I think they're in California.
I
So
don't
if they're-
know. I
so
don't
if
remember
he's-
if that was a guess or.
So if he's driving around in January on a bike, it's fine. They don't.
Oh,
have,
yeah.
They don't have weather out there.
That's
It's
true.
not the
yeah.
same as here.
It's like it's
They're like, oh, it's
60 degrees.
68
They're like,
degrees. It's freezing.
yeah.
Time for a heavy jacket. What are you talking about?
Jonathan just hates towns that aren't reused names from the old country.
What?
Like Essex, that makes sense to him because that's a place in England. Oslo, New Hampshire, that makes sense to him because that was a name from the old country. Like, just use the names from the old country.
old
Jonathan
country.
hates stuff named after shit that was already here.
Is there
or
an
other
Oslo, New
cultures.
Hampshire?
Is this a
Probably
new?
not.
Is this
Probably
a
not.
new bit or a callback?
I think it's a new bit.
It's a new thing. It's a new
Okay,
thing, and
all
we're
right.
just gonna go with it. And,
All right, I'm gonna go with it. I hate.
It's a
God
well-known
forbid
thing,
something's named
Jonathan.
Algonquin because
Can't you just
He hates
name
it.
it Lancashire or something? Come on. We solved this 200 years ago. Once at the library, he dug through the year-old stacks of Sessa bulletins for articles on Harry's death. He found 5. He vaguely remembered reading a couple of them last November. For some reason, even though Harry's suicide had been the talk at school for several weeks, he had avoided involving himself in the subject, maybe because he killed him. Is what you guys think. 2 of the articles were accompanied by the same picture of Harry. Nice haircut, sad expression. The kind of photo that would haunt a mother after her boy was gone.
I think
Damn.
any photo would haunt a mother after her boy was gone.
Yeah, but especially the one where he looks sad. And you're like, I should have known. Yeah, that's bad. Had he felt grief at Harry's death? Yes. He could remember being upset when he heard the news.
I don't know if that's
Let
the
me
same as
plumb
grief.
the depths of
Yeah.
my robot emotions. Was
Yeah.
I sad? Yes, I do believe
kind
I
of.
was. Kind of.
He sounds like Ron DeSantis trying to be a
Was I in,
smile.
was I in a fugue state when I murdered him? Probably.
Maybe. Who's to say? Yet his thoughts had quickly turned to how the suicide would affect Shelley.
Now at least he knew the answer to that. He could have asked her then, just avoided her instead of trying to help.
Basically, when her boyfriend killed himself, he was just like, I'm just going to ignore you for a year and then ask you out.
Yeah.
That's what
Again,
he-
they had
yeah.
Jamie, they had dated before this guy.
Okay.
They dated a little bit and then they broke up, I guess. And
They
then she
dated like
dated
simultaneously.
Harry.
I think she was dating both of them at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then he
So
killed
it's-
himself, and then he was
so
just
it's-
like, "You're no fun."
So she's asking her ex to find out why her
Other ex.
see this is
100% yes.
Shelly girl.
Yeah.
You need better ideas, girl.
Yeah.
Marvin collected his papers along with the reports Shelley had given him and made himself comfortable in the reading section of the library. Oh yeah, didn't she have like detective reports or like police reports and shit?
I think so.
Isn't every section of a library a reading section?
That's a great question. To his surprise, he found two girls sitting across from him. They looked like freshmen, reading his books. They appeared thoroughly entranced, so he didn't mentally chide them for not buying the books so he could receive more royalties. So he's saying fuck libraries while he's in a library.
Yeah.
Yo, libraries account for a large chunk of book sales, especially for like YA comics and graphic novels. You can't hate on the librarians, Marvin.
Yeah, fuck
Don't you
you,
know your
Marvin.
market, you asshole?
He's 17. He does
Yeah.
not.
You have to remember, he's a child.
He's a teenage millionaire.
Yeah.
But he could be richer.
I could have a few more bucks.
Yeah, if you weren't a piece of shit, Marvin, you could have all the libraries on lock. And they will pay for visits. Like you could visit, like you could do the
Oh yeah,
whole
he could
touring
do
circuit.
signings.
Yeah.
You
but then he'd
stupid
have to
son
give
of a
away his
bitch.
identity.
Yeah.
Well, he could wear a paper bag.
He could be like Orville Peck.
Yeah, just wear a mask.
Yeah, he could be like Danger Mouse, except for writing, I guess.
Yeah.
but with the same helmet.
Yeah, the same helmet.
Marvin had a small notepad and pen with him, which he always kept in his pocket in case he had a sudden inspiration or interesting idea for a story. He took them out and laid them on the seat beside him. He decided to read through the newspaper articles first to get an overview. Then he would go over the police and coroner reports. He was a slow reader. Like many authors, he read every word. I'm not an author.
I'm sorry.
I read every word of the things
Like
I'm reading.
most
Is that
readers, he-
uncommon?
Are you supposed to skip words?
Yeah, come on.
What the fuck?
I mean,
Why didn't they just say, like most readers, he read every word?
Yeah.
to be fair, there have been chapters in books where I skimmed. I was like, I get the
But
point.
yeah, that's the book's fault.
That's
Or
true.
That's the author's
That's
fault.
the author's fault. Yeah.
I know this isn't in Marvin's voice, but it feels like Marvin is writing this.
It does. I was confused earlier because I was thinking it was in first person, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because it really does feel like Marvin is telling this story.
There's
but I
always a
think it's
Christopher
because
Pike
Christopher Pike is
insert.
just Marvin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2 hours later, his reading complete, Marvin had a more thorough understanding of the case of Harry Pastor. I really hope it didn't take him 2 hours to read 5 newspaper articles.
It definitely did. He just said he's a slow reader.
He read every
He
word.
read every word, one at a time, each word a minute.
He studied the kerning of the font.
More importantly was the space between the words.
Exactly.
Harry had disappeared the night of Friday, November 12th. The last person to see him alive was Triad Tyler.
Hell yeah.
Wild
Hell yeah.
name.
I
That's a
forgot
wild
we
name.
say it's hell yeah when
Triad's
we say
like
Triad.
a real cool jock dude, so every time we say the name Triad, we go, hell yeah.
Get ready. According to Triad,
Hell
they
yeah.
had purchased a couple of six-packs early in the evening, drunk them in Sessa Park by the lake, and parted company close to midnight in front of Harry's house. Triad
Is-
had dropped Harry off.
Is Triad like 21?
No.
Probably he was held back.
I mean, because if they bought the 6-packs, he could be a dum-dum.
This
Oh,
was
yeah.
the 90s. The drinking age was 7.
Oh, I do remember that.
Triad had dropped Harry off. That was the last time Triad or anyone saw Harry Pastor, alive.
Dun dun dun.
Harry's body was found floating face down in Sessa Lake the following morning, November 15th. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Harry had disappeared the night of Friday, November 12th.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
They drank some beer, parted ways, dropped him off. Last time anyone saw him alive. His body was found floating face down the following Monday morning. I'm sorry.
Oh, so he was there all weekend.
He was there all weekend.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
November 15th. He was discovered by Sid Green, a senior citizen who often fished before dawn from a rowboat.
Oh, Sid.
Oh, Sid.
Sid
Found the
pulled
body.
Sid
He's all
pulled-
bloated.
Stop it.
Sid pulled the body to shore and called the police, who arrived 15 minutes later. The officer, Maxwell Farmer, reported nothing unusual about the condition of the body. The coroner, in a detailed report, had more to add. Number 1. Harry had a broken neck and a fractured skull. 2. Harry's palms were blistered. 3. Harry had oil stains on his fingers. 4. Harry had an unusual number of broken blood capillaries in his lower extremities.
Lower
Jerked off
extremities?
way too hard.
No, what does that mean? Lower extremities?
I'm
Legs?
doing a very low effort Robert
Why-
Stack impression
why
from
would-
Unsolved
why would-
Mysteries.
Why wouldn't they just say legs?
It was the coroner's belief that Harry had died by diving headfirst off the cliff into the lake. Although the cliff was not excessively high, 102 feet, the water at the base
I
of the
mean,
cliff...
I think that would do
so
it.
high.
sounds kinda
That's
fucking
so
high.
high.
Super duper high.
Yeah.
The
We,
water...
we climb, and the gym is only 50 feet, so twice that, you fall, you die.
Yeah.
The water at the base of the cliff was only 15 feet deep. It was the coroner's opinion that Harry had struck his head on the soft mud bottom and died instantly. The injuries to his neck and skull formed the basis of this opinion. There were no obvious signs of struggle on the body. Harry had almost certainly not been attacked. The blistered palms and broken blood capillaries, although unusual, were not considered significant. Harry could have got oil on his hands performing any number of tasks before committing suicide. Maybe he was making candles. The coroner, however, did not even attempt to address the broken capillaries. The coroner put the time of Harry's death at approximately 12 a.m. Monday morning, 6 hours before his body was found.
The coroner's like, I don't know.
This isn't exactly a science. but the coroner admitted it was possible Harry had died as much as 6 hours earlier.
Cold water.
It's a ballpark. It's a ballpark figure.
Just
Yeah.
a guesstimate. Cold water greatly slowed down the process a body went through in the hours following death. Harry had not even begun to show signs of rigor mortis when he was pulled from the lake. As they say, those were the facts.
As they say.
Who?
As they say, Marvin fucking wrote this.
Oh my god.
Unlike Shelley, Marvin found much in the material to make him smell something fishy. To assume
Well, it
someone
did
had
go
jumped.
into a lake. I mean,
Yeah.
makes sense that it would smell fishy.
Jesus fucking Christ.
assume
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yep.
He was trying to catch fish with his hands. That's why they're oily.
All that fish oil.
Wait, did you ad-lib that or is that in there?
No, I just put that in.
Because with these books, you can't tell.
You really can't.
To assume someone jumped off a cliff simply because no one had seen him pushed seemed quite a leap in deductive reasoning. But he
A
could
leap?
understand. A leap. A giant pushed leap.
If we stop at every pun, we'll never get through this.
But he could understand the
Christopher
thinking of the
Pike's
police
fault.
and the coroner. That's true.
I know. I know.
They were offering the simplest explanation, and in lieu of evidence substantiating a different conclusion, they were going to stick with it, because they lazy bitches. And they need to close those cases so they can get their funding approved for the next... Like, it all makes sense when you
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
it. It's
It
all
was close to the
capitalism.
end of the fiscal year.
Look,
They
we-
just had
yeah.
to close this case.
We've all
Yeah,
seen
we
The
just-
Wire.
Yeah, they got to close the cases. Close them cases, McNulty. Marvin could also see that it would be next to impossible to prove that Harry was pushed, no matter what research he did. You could just go to the fucking cliff, you fucking idiot, and look at the fucking site. Come on. If a witness hadn't come forward
It was years
yet,
ago, though.
Oh.
Wasn't it?
It was 1 year ago.
1 year ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess the crime scene is all...
Tainted.
Tampered.
Yeah. It's make-out cliff, so like all these kids just scuff it and stuff.
All the grass is just matted down.
Oh, there's way more bodily fluids here than we anticipated.
No wonder his hands were oily. If a witness hadn't come forward yet, he or she was not going to come forward. It was a shame in a way. The most likely alternative scenario was practically closed to him before he could begin. Yet he was more open to the idea of murder than before. He had been wrong to tell Shelley that since the police had closed the book on the case, it should remain closed. Maybe Harry hadn't jumped or been pushed. Perhaps there was a third alternative. Aliens.
I hope so.
Marvin was frankly surprised Shelley hadn't informed him of these other mysterious odds and ends. Of course, she wasn't the amateur sleuth he was.
Don't fucking
oil-
nag Shelley.
Yeah.
But that's what he loves doing.
The oil stains on Harry's palms could have come from anywhere. That was true. At this point, it would be fruitless to speculate on them.
Later, though, they might be important. Write that down, everybody.
Oily hands. I'm writing it down.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, right?
So tell me again how you got the oil on your hands, Mrs. Dufresne.
Check out Chekhov's oil hands. The broken blood capillaries in Harry's legs were also difficult to fathom. Marvin hadn't a clue what could have caused them. He would have to do more research. The blistered palms, on the other hand, were intriguing from the start. Both the coroner and the police said there were no signs of struggle on the body. It seemed to Marvin a narrow perception on their part of what constituted struggle. If a man was thrown into a dry well and held prisoner, and he tried to climb out, he would probably get blisters.
Wait, what?
That's a thing a
it
person
was the
thinks
That's
of.
the
90s.
first thought about how to get hand blisters.
Remember
In
how
a well.
I don't think you'd get blisters trying to climb out of a well. I think you'd get scraped
he's
up.
scraped up? Yeah,
It was the early 90s. People were falling in wells all the time.
dry
Your
wells
elbows would get
abounded.
blistered. Yeah.
Yeah.
The well. I didn't see a well in the previous. Come on.
The well endemic.
The well.
The well endemic. The blisters would be a sign of struggle in response to an indirect physical attack. All right, Marvin.
I hate him so
Marvin's
much right now.
Marvin's
I do
a
not.
piece of shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do not have the patience for Marvin.
All right,
Marvin is a
I
Detective Conan here.
I already have another theory.
Yeah.
Maybe
What is
someone with a lighter and a can of Aquanet sprayed it at him while he was on the edge of the cliff. It hit his hands as
He's
he
like,
fell
"Oh!"
backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Blistering his hands.
Yeah,
And
and then he fell backwards.
That's how I'd do it.
That's a lot more likely than a fucking well, Marvin.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no well, Marvin. Was it? Oh my God, guys.
We didn't see this is like season 5 of Sherlock, where they don't give you any clues, and then he pulls out the answer out of his ass. We don't see a well, Marvin. You haven't told us anything about the well, Marvin. It's not in the police report. It's not in any of the reports. The 5 fucking reports that take you 8 hours to read because you read every fucking word, Marvin.
He really wanted to get the feel of them. But hey, Jamie, was it possible Harry had been kept captive somewhere before he was killed?
The only person who would think that would be someone who kept him captive
yeah.
himself.
But they said last time we read this book, they were like, well, you know, authors, authors who write murder mysteries, they do think a little differently about murder because they think about murder all the time. They're better equipped to solve murders.
Yo,
they're
Marvin
always, like,
fucking did it.
Yeah, Marvin
fucking
100% did it. The missing time between when Harry disappeared and when his body was found was intriguing. Although, I will say again, aliens.
Yeah.
Missing time. Marvin could not believe he had been unaware of that fact at the time of Harry's death, yet he had absolutely no memory of it. Well, Marvin, it seemed like you didn't really
unaware
give a
of what?
shit about Harry's death. Marvin can't believe he was unaware of that fact.
What
The
fact
discrepancy
specifically?
The lost time.
Oh.
But I'm just saying, like, by Marvin's own admission, he didn't really care.
He didn't really give a
He
shit.
didn't really
Yeah.
give a shit.
He didn't care.
He was just like,
he was-
Harry killed himself. That sucks that I can't date Shelley anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Harry met Shelley.
Damn it. Marvin jotted down 2 dates. Friday, November 12th, the day Harry had disappeared, and Monday, November 15th, the day Harry had died. I am getting fucking flashbacks to the first Christopher Pike book.
Are you taking notes, listener?
Yeah, where like
I'm writing Friday or Monday question mark. I'm not going to know what that means later.
someone died and a detective investigated, and there was literally a map in the book. Like, here's the map of the apartment.
Oh no.
And it was like,
What we know so far is that
you keep
with
track?
the rate of decomposition is that he died on Sunday. He either died earlier on Sunday or later on Sunday. That's all we know so far.
Okay. So, where had Harry been on that intervening Saturday and Sunday? Marvin thought, and it took him several minutes to remember where he had been.
Yeah,
Any
he
of
killed
those
him.
days.
Yep.
Finally, he remembered. He, Marvin, had been out with Shelley the day Harry had disappeared. And there was one other small point. Bekah, tell us what it is.
Ooh. I'm only laughing at how stupid it is because I'm not going to ad-lib this. November 12th. That's Shelley's birthday, for God's sakes.
God's sake! For God's sake!
How could he have forgotten such a crucial event on such a critical day? It boggled Marvin's mind. If he were a psychiatrist, he would have said he had subconsciously blocked the information.
Yeah, it's probably. I think that's exactly what happened.
But he wasn't a psychiatrist.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
He was
yeah.
a mystery writer. He returned to the facts. Writers love facts and nothing else. If there was
Fuck your feelings.
if there was a murderer, he needed suspects. He had
Look
gone
in the
out
mirror.
right. He had gone out with Shelley Friday night to celebrate her birthday. Curiously enough, they had done almost exactly what they had done the day before. They had ridden to Pella on his bike, eaten dinner, seen a movie, and driven home. The only difference was that they had not stopped on the bridge, nor had they climbed into the hot tub together. Where was Harry that night? The newspapers and police report said that he was out with Triad drinking beer.
Hell yeah.
In any murder situation, the last person to see the victim alive was immediately a suspect. But Marvin's memory, now that it had got a jump start, was suddenly coming up with all kinds of interesting little details. Triad could not be
Hell
a
yeah.
suspect because
Hell yeah.
Harry had died sometime between 6 Sunday evening and 12 midnight. And during that time,
Hell yeah.
Triad had
Hell yeah.
been in a medium-sized town. What does that even mean?
What the
What?
fuck?
He had been in a medium-sized town 50 miles east of Sessa named Canteen. What are the names of any of this shit?
What? What is a medium-sized town?
It's
Is
like,
Sessa a small town?
Oh,
I don't even know.
god
The
damn
way
it.
he names stuff is truly baffling.
Yes.
It feels like it's all like it's some kind of allegory, but it's too confusing to make any sense. Like Triad and Canteen. Those aren't the names of people or places.
Oh my
So,
god.
so when you guys first told me that dude's name was Triad, I was like, well, there's the only Asian in this story because that's too on the nose.
The football team had been in the playoffs, and the game had been postponed from Saturday night to Sunday night because of poor weather. Not that the delay had helped much. It had poured throughout Sunday's game, and then afterward, after Sessa had been soundly defeated, the Sessa coaches decided that because of the rain, it would be better to bus the players home on Monday morning.
All right, bad joke alert. I feel like Marvin and Shelley have ridden their bikes out to Pella tons of times.
Yeah.
It's a bad joke.
Oh, that took me
But I had
so
to get
long to get it.
I had to get it out there. All right, anyway, Marvin
I applaud that one. That was good. I like it.
Marvin had not gone to the game, but had heard about the particulars at school on Monday. When Harry's body had been discovered in the lake, his absence from the game had naturally been discussed. Of course, if a guy was about to kill himself, he didn't usually go play football beforehand. Marvin decided to check on whether Triad, had spent Sunday night with his football buddies, but he was already confident that Triad, could not have killed Harry. If Harry had been killed, which, a few curious details aside, he probably hadn't been, but for the sake of his investigation, Marvin had to assume temporarily that there had been a crime. Oh my god, what a fucking word count sentence. Why else would he continue it? I need to scroll.
Oh, sorry. I lost the place.
He needed more suspects. Who had hated Harry? Harry
Marvin
had been a loner. The only people close to him had been Shelley and Triad, and Shelley wouldn't have killed Harry, and Triad, couldn't have. The only person Marvin could think of who had any motivation at all to murder Harry was he, Marvin.
Yes.
For the love of Shelley Quaid. That was a great reason. Waste the competition. Marvin chuckled aloud at the thought. He would have remembered something like that.
Would you have though?
Would
you? I need to borrow again.
Marvin got up and went to the payphone at the front of the library. He checked the white pages, which is the thing that current listeners that are Gen Z have no idea what it is. And found...
it's better this way, though.
Honestly,
I don't remember the difference between the white pages and the yellow pages.
What were the
yellow pages? Businesses. White pages,
people.
Or one or the other.
Yeah.
Yellow
pages were the businesses.
Right. White pages were people?
White pages were people. Oh, that's Kelly Blue Book. That's for cars, which you should be familiar with.
He checked the white pages and found Sid Green's address, the elderly gentleman who had discovered Harry's body.
Sid Green.
He considered calling, but decided to drop by. He was pretty certain old Sid would have nothing valuable to tell him.
Don't diss Sid,
So go waste
Marvin.
his time in person?
Yeah.
Look at that cat. Look at that cat of yours.
Sid is adorable. Sid is the goat of this entire book.
Really hoping for a sentence of, I'm sorry, Mr. Green, I have one more question.
Sid Green was sitting on his front porch reading did I say that weird? Sitting on his front porch. I did say that weird. Sitting on his his French front porch, reading a newspaper when Marvin arrived.
I thought it was going to be like a Law and Order thing where he's just like at the docks, like moving boxes.
Yeah. What you doing there? Oh, I'm moving these boxes.
Yeah, I remember.
He had to be in his 70s, going by the number of wrinkles on his face. But he wasn't decrepit because when you're 70, you're a fucking corpse.
That's how you can tell.
Yeah, count the wrinkles.
Marvin was reminded that here was a man who went fishing before dawn, and if the police report could be believed, had single-handedly dragged Harry's body from the lake. You know why? Because Sid is a goat. He's fucking strong as shit. He's pulling that boat out every morning, grabbing them fit. Come on, man. Come on, Marvin.
He's
Shut
our
the fuck
hero.
up.
He's like, this isn't the first body I've had to pull out of this lake.
Yeah. What can I do for you, young fella? Mr. Green asked, setting aside his paper. He had a huge package of red licorice because, of course he did, resting in his lap, and what appeared to be a good wad of it in his mouth. Because he's trying to quit tobacco.
Yeah.
Everyone knows old Sid is a victim of the rope.
Jesus Christ.
He chewed his licorice slowly with the
Call them
satisfaction.
hanged men.
Oh my god. With the satisfaction of a 6-year-old boy. It was a cold day to be sitting outside and reading, but Mr. Green was bundled up in a fat wool sweater that Mrs. Green had probably knitted for him when they were courting.
That's a leap. Maybe he just bought a fucking sweater.
Yeah, come on, Marvin. Shut the fuck up.
No, that sweater is 50 years old.
Marvin came up the steps and offered his hand. My name's Marvin, Marvin said, shaking the gentleman's hand. I was a friend of Harry Pastor. Do you remember him? Mr. Green reached for another red licorice stick. I haven't found that many dead bodies in my days while I've been fishing.
Not
I
that
remember
many.
Not that many.
But
Not
not
more than
only
one.
I didn't say 0.
If I had a nickel.
I remember that little fucker. Never saw such blue cheeks in my... What? What cheeks are you looking at, Sid?
Both of them.
Fish cheeks.
Sid.
Fish
Sid.
cheeks.
Oh, Sid. 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 I don't know if Sid is the goat anymore. He took a bite of his candy. I'm sorry, young fella. Shouldn't have spoken of him that way. You said he was your friend? Yeah, but I'm over it.
That's what it says.
Yeah, that one, I didn't make that one up.
Wow.
Yes, but I'm over it. The grief, I mean. Marvin glanced up and down the street and wondered what the hell he was saying to this old fuck on a Saturday afternoon, quizzing a 70-year-old man.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck you, Marvin.
Oh my god.
He continued, but I still have some questions about the way Harry died. I was wondering if I could ask you about what you saw that morning. I saw a young boy floating face down in the water. Hell, I don't know what else to say. What do you want from me? So old. He was dead as a firefly in a snowstorm. You ever seen a firefly in a snowstorm? That's right, because they're all fucking dead.
Of course you haven't.
Did you actually pull him out of the water? Mr.
You
Green.
see them guns, you dumb fuck, Marvin.
Mr. Green nodded with pride. That I did. Hooked my line onto the collar of his leather jacket and rowed us both to shore. And then I made a joke about, oh, caught me a big one.
That's a strong-ass line, man.
Yeah, I know. Got my wind up doing it, but I couldn't leave the lad floating out there. Mr. Green sighed and shook his head and had another bite of licorice. They say he jumped. What a pity. I'm so glad I got so many of these lines.
I'm glad you did too.
So good.
There's no way
so
I'd be doing
jealous.
this voice.
When I was that age... When I was that age, the only thing I thought about was girls and sex. Sex with girls.
No, Sid.
I'd spend all day thinking about them. Not that I ever had sex, no siree, just my hand and me those days. I don't know what's wrong with young folks nowadays. They can have all the sex they want, and they still ain't happy. Makes no sense to me.
Wait, why
Holy
couldn't he have sex
shit.
then?
Why is Sid an incel? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't like Sid anymore.
That-
Fuck you, Sid.
That was baffling.
But why?
None of
why
that was
couldn't he have
ad-libbed.
sex back in his day? That
He-
is unclear.
It's not that he couldn't, it's just that he didn't.
But he
Sid.
envies young people because they can. But what stopped him?
Sid.
No.
would've been-
It's, he doesn't
strength.
envy them. He's like
stronger than the rest
They're
of
all
them.
fucking and they're not happy.
Sid would have been there.
Doesn't
at
make him
January
happy.
6th. He would have been at the Capitol. Sid.
I'm
no,
confused
Sid.
still.
Sid, I don't know about this. Sid.
If you ask me, America used to be great, and I want to make it great again.
God damn you, Sid.
No.
It makes no sense to me either, Marvin said. I was just in a hot tub with a naked lady, and I was sad. I've read the police and coroner reports on the case. They say there were no obvious marks on the struggle on the body. Do you remember any? Mr. Green thought for a long moment. Can't say I do. Do you remember the blisters on Harry's palms? Why did he have blisters? I don't know. I don't remember no blisters. They were there. You probably just missed them. Marvin was already losing enthusiasm for the interrogation. However, mine was at a peak.
Well, yeah, like he's bored. This should be more fun.
Yeah.
Talking about this dead guy.
This guy's so old. I'm bored.
What was Harry wearing when you found him? Mr. Green had to think again. Like I said, he had on a brown leather jacket and I think a sweater underneath. The jacket was puffed up, if you know what I mean. No?
No?
I don't know what kind of pants he was wearing.
Full of crawfish.
But
Were
I
there-
saw his cheeks.
Yeah. It just, the blue cheeks were so stunning. I
Yeah.
couldn't notice the pants.
So blue.
Were there any stains on his clothes? Marvin asked. What kind of stains?
He was wet.
Any stains. Food stains.
God.
Blood stains. I didn't say he was bleeding. I understand that. I was just asking about the condition of his clothes. Look, I should leave you in peace. I'll
Yes.
go. If you can think of anything you can call me at... There were some marks on his jacket, Mr. Green interrupted. Marvin paused. What kind of marks? Mr. Green gestured to his armpits. They were like burns on the leather. The leather had been burned? No, not actually burned. It was more like the leather had been rubbed raw.
Excuse me.
By what?
Huh?
Marvin asked. I don't know.
Teenage fiction.
Could you give me any more details about the marks? Did they wrap around the
Teenage
chest under the armpits? Yes. How thick were they? Narrow. Narrow? Marvin repeated. We're hitting a word count here.
I was like, what is this?
Yeah. Wait, what was his internal monologue, Sam Elliott, or his external monologue?
Internal monologue.
Internal.
Sam Elliott.
The italicized.
We decided it was just too much Sam Elliott for it to be his spoken word.
Yeah. Were the marks on the back of his jacket as well? I think so. You're not sure? No. Maybe. Yeah. I think there were marks there as well.
He's old.
Marvin considered. Mr. Green, could those marks have been made by a rope? I don't know of any rope that would burn leather like that. If the rope was scraped across the leather again and again, it might. Marvin moved to leave. Thank you, Mr. Green. You've been most helpful.
Who would just be rubbing rope back and forth under his armpits?
I don't know. Here, Chris, you can read. You go to the next one too.
Yeah.
Chapter 7. Marvin went to the pastor residence next. He called Harry's mother ahead of time. He wasn't sure exactly what Shelley had told the woman and didn't want to do anything that might add to her grief a year later, but Mrs. Pastor said she'd be happy to see him. She was a good-looking woman, which was
Awesome
not
teacher.
surprising given her son's striking looks. She was also relatively young to have had an 18-year-old son. She must have had Harry in her late teens. She let Marvin in and offered him a cup of coffee and
God
a plate
damn it,
of
Marvin.
freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, which he
Mar-
accepted gratefully because why the fuck wouldn't he?
Marvin cannot not comment on every woman's appearance, including his
horn
little sister.
Yeah.
You.
But I
God
feel like
damn you,
that's a
Marvin.
very common thing for male writers in general.
Yeah.
I remember what was it, that book, Chris, you had me read?
Stormfront by Jim Butcher.
Yeah. Every
it-
woman, we had to know exactly, like, basically
Any-
on a scale of 1 to 10, how attractive she
God.
was.
She is,
Every
yeah.
Any
single
detective
fucking woman
book.
ever.
Any
Yeah.
detective book, it's like a requirement.
Harry's mom breasted boobily down the stairs
Yes, exactly.
and titted me some cookies.
They sat at the kitchen table together, an old hand-carved wooden clock ticking above their heads. Shelley says you two are good friends,
Jesus
Mrs.
Christ.
Pastor remarked as she brought the coffee pot to the table. Cream or sugar?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, good luck.
Both, thank you. Yes, that's true. I've known Shelley since high school. I mean, since the beginning of school, he added. I knew Harry as well. He was in my chemistry class. She smiled quickly, and it was sad to see the pain still at the edges of her smile. Harry always liked chemistry. Marvin tried
That's
one
wonderful.
of the cookies. He was an excellent student. She spoke with too much pleasure. Wasn't he, though? He would read those textbooks like they were Max Slate
Jesus
thrillers.
Christ.
Who the fuck is Max
Oh,
Slate?
that's his pen
name.
name.
That's Marvin.
Oh,
His
okay.
nom de plume.
Max Slate.
Marvin almost gagged on the cookie. God. Are you all right, Marvin? He cleared his throat and reached for his coffee. Yes, I just get choked up sometimes when I choke on my food.
That's the best thing I've ever
And
read.
I'm a writer.
He took a sip of the steaming beverage. The woman made excellent coffee, and Marvin was something of a connoisseur when it came to the
Of
stuff.
course he fucking was.
He drank gallons of coffee when he was riding at full speed because he was a hipster.
Yep.
You must be wondering why I wanted to see you. Mrs. Pastor's hands shook as she raised her own cup to her lips. Shelley said you were checking into where Harry was the Saturday and Sunday before he was found. That was part of what he was doing at Mrs. Pastor's house, but the other part was he was checking out Shelley's mom because he was so horny.
Yeah.
Or Harry's mom, whatever. But he hadn't told Shelley that. Shelley had obviously read the material as closely as he had and was anticipating his moves. Yet she was vague when he had questioned her about the reports.
He found that curious. I'm trying to learn where he was, yes, Marvin said. Do you have any ideas? I'm afraid not.
Didn't we establish that she's young and hot? You're all doing this old-ass voice for her.
I don't understand your
I'm
question. I don't understand your question. It's like the hottest voice I've ever heard.
I forgot she was young and hot.
Yes, please, young Marvin, help me out of my bodies.
I am 22.
Oh, and do put away my bustle.
She'd probably be like 30-ish.
Well, 30 in the 90s is like 80 today. So.
Yeah.
That's not what 30-year-olds sound like.
In the 90s. Triad, hell yeah, says he dropped Harry back here close to midnight. Did you hear Harry come in? No! But Harry was fond of staying out late on the weekends. She shrugged. It was more of a tremble than a casual gesture. What the fuck? He was a grown boy. I often went to sleep before he came home. Look at how good my body is. Do you believe Triad when he says
Hell
he
yeah.
brought Harry back here? Mrs. Pastor blinked. Of course. Those two were the best of friends. They had known each other since they were toddlers. Triad.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Wouldn't have lied about something like that, dear boy. I'm sure he wouldn't have. Do you have the jacket Harry was wearing when he died? Pardon? Harry's leather jacket. Do you have it here in the house? Yes. Could I see it, please? Marvin asked. Mrs. Pastor stood unsteadily. I think it's in the garage. Could you give me a minute?
I was hoping you would say garage.
Did you hear my hesitation when I decided to say the word a different way that I was already saying
In my
it?
head, I was like, you know how to say it.
You know how to say it. You know the funny way to say it. Say it funny. Say it funny, clown dance.
Say it funny, you little bitch.
Harry drank his coffee and ate his cookies while Mrs. Pastor was gone. He felt guilty for even being in the house. He believed it was because he was in love with the girlfriend of the woman's dead son, where actually, though, it was subconscious guilt because he's the one who killed Harry.
Yes.
Where actually, but he was in love with the woman's dead son.
That too.
And he's adding on to it, wants to fuck the dead son's
dead son's
mom.
mom, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe the dead son. We don't know.
We don't
Don't know.
In fact, if he was totally honest with himself, one of the main reasons he was conducting his investigation was to keep Shelley happy so that she would sit. So that she would.
What?
So that she would sit naked in the jacuzzi with him again.
Bruh.
Not ever.
Bruh.
That was just to get you to do the task. She's already done
She
it.
already honeypotted you dipshit.
But didn't he say that he wasn't horny for that anymore
Well,
when she
Well, no,
after
that's-
she got sad.
Only after she got sad. It wasn't hot when she was sad. It's only hot when she's not sad, Jamie.
Oh, I see.
There was a lot of like
I
touching.
guess it
of
would be
parts.
pretty shitty if he still thought it was hot when she was sad, but it was still a giant bummer of a scene.
Oh yeah.
You're pretty when you cry.
Bad.
There was a picture of Harry on the wall in the kitchen. It stared at him with accusing eyes, and so am
bet.
I.
Yeah.
Here it is, Mrs. Pastor said as she re-entered the room with a badly stained brown
I don't know
leather
why, but
jacket
I'm
in her
picturing that it's
arms.
still dripping wet. Just like a year later.
It
It's
does
just
seem
been
like
moist.
something you wouldn't keep, like the jacket someone drowned in.
No.
No.
I'm still
If you-
imagining
A
the picture
leather
on the wall.
jacket
If
someone
you
drowned
were
in.
wearing a very specific piece of clothing and you died in it, I would not keep that clothing. I wouldn't keep it as like a memento of the death.
Yeah.
That brings
You know?
back bad memories.
That's bad. Every time I'd look at it, I'd be like, yep, I want to die.
No, I would keep your Letterman jacket or like your stupid ass trophies that are too big and
Well,
take
like-
up too much
Yeah.
space.
Well, like if
but,
you drowned in it and like the coroner was handing it to me, I'd be like, ew, gross. Why would I want this?
Yeah.
There's like, there's marks all over it. Like, I don't know, it looks like he struggled.
I'm still picturing the picture on the wall that he thought was accusatory. It was just like is him just like pointing his finger with piercing eyes, just like
No, it's
It
one of those
was
pictures.
you!
It's one of those pictures where the eyes are cut out and Harry's dad is behind,
no.
and he's just following Marvin with his eyes.
It was you, wasn't it, boy?
She handed it to him quickly, glad to be rid of it. The water had done a number on the jacket. The leather felt like parchment under Marvin's probing fingers.
Oh.
The marks were as the old man had described and Marvin had pictured. They circled around the chest, under the armpits, to the back. It was true they could have been caused by a rope scraping against the leather, yet now that he had the jacket in hand, Marvin couldn't imagine how Harry could have been successfully tied up for 2 days and made the marks fighting against his binds. There were no rope burns around the waist or anywhere except for the single line of marks on the upper portion of the jacket. Surely a murderer would have more thoroughly tied Harry up if he'd wanted to keep him in one place. You'd also think he'd take off like a loose jacket before
Yeah, the
tying
jacket-
someone up. You could just shimmy out of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like put him down to a t-shirt or something.
Yeah. Yet Harry had had those blisters. Rope could give a guy blisters.
sure can.
Sure.
Did he have a sweater on under this when he was found? Marvin asked. Yes, Mrs. Pastor said. Why do you ask? The jacket would have been enough to keep him warm during the daytime, but at night he'd have needed a sweater to be comfortable. I would think the opposite
Yeah.
of that
You're in
sentiment would
California.
be true.
You're
Yes.
in California. It doesn't get
He's just
sweater,
wearing like
jacket
no
cold.
shirt and a jacket all day, and then at night he puts on a sweater under
Yeah.
the jacket.
What?
What he was also thinking was that the coroner had made no mention of the rope burns on Harry's skin, which could have been the case if Harry had been tied up for a couple of days, as long as he'd been wearing enough layers under the jacket to protect his skin from the rope. I'm bored now.
I'm
this
losing
is
the-
the bathroom all over again.
Yes, I'm losing the thread.
Marvin added, "What was Harry wearing when he went out with Triad? Hell yeah, Friday
Hell
night."
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see him go out. I'd gone to dinner with a friend. But Harry often wore this jacket. It was his favorite. Did it have these marks on it before he died? Marvin asked. Which is not a question you ask someone who
That's-
lost a child.
Yeah, that's
God
a weird
damn.
way to
If
phrase
If you're
that.
not an actual cop, like you don't.
Yeah,
ask that.
why is this lady like humoring
like,
this
yeah,
little
like, yeah,
fucker?
putting up with
Yeah.
this.
Because he's Marvin. No. Did you ask them? Yes. They said they weren't important. Mrs. Pastor paused. Do you think they're important? Maybe. He set the jacket aside. Would you mind if I kept the jacket for a few days? You know, for stuff?
Ugh.
Mrs. Pastor hesitated. That would be fine, but please bring it back when you're done.
I need to
I
put
will.
it back in the shrine.
I will, I promise. Mrs. Pastor looked uncomfortable, understandably so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forgive me for asking, but why are you checking into the details surrounding my son's death? Shelley asked me to. She must have told you. She believes Harry was murdered.
He's just like putting everyone out on blast.
Damn.
He's a
Mrs.
terrible detective.
Mrs. Pastor stirred her coffee. She mentioned that to me. This is getting fishy. Mrs. Pastor, can I ask you a delicate question?
What kind of underwear are you wearing?
She looked up. You want to know if I think my son committed suicide? I'm sorry, Marvin muttered.
She's so
embarrassed,
fancy and British.
embarrassed at the position he had to place both of them. He had placed them both in. Mrs. Pastor glanced at the picture of Harry on the wall, but now the boys' eyes.
Boys' eyes.
The boys' eyes. Now the boys' eyes weren't so accusing. I don't think any mother could believe her son would take his own life. Mrs. Pastor said softly. Harry died a year ago, and I wonder if I believe it yet. A shudder went across her features. But if you're asking me if Harry was unhappy, I would have to say yes. Do you know what he was unhappy about? Marvin asked. He remembered Shelley's comment to him on the couch. I went out. I can't do it. I went out with you. But surely that wouldn't have been reason enough to push Harry over the edge. Not unless the guy had a deep psychological problem.
Did she pick Marvin over Harry? I don't really remember.
Yeah,
the
I don't really get.
She was playing them both, toots.
I don't think she picked Marvin over Harry. I think she was literally dating them both at the same time.
She's a femme fatale.
So she was dating both of them when Harry died.
Yeah. I think she was dating Harry first, and then while she was dating Harry, she started dating Marvin, and then Harry killed himself, and then Marvin was just like, "You're too sad.
You're too sad."
Just like boned out.
I think Marvin was...
Well, I think he did the right thing. He was just like, you're dating both of us and he died, so I'm just gonna back off.
I think what happened was Harry approached Marvin and said, hey, look, let's do this throuple thing. Shelley's into both of us. You're okay, I guess. I'll look the other way, but, let's do the throuple thing. And then Marvin wilded out and killed him.
Yeah. And then, in a fugue state. And yeah,
in a fugue state.
Didn't remember any of it.
We don't know what a throuple is in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I, gay? And then he pushed him off a cliff.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
no, he tied him up for 2 days in his leather jacket.
Yeah, he tied him up.
Way less gay.
Yeah,
he was like, well, maybe it could work. But then he was like, nah.
He was like, you wait here while I think about it.
I gotta get rid of this. No. Yeah. This isn't for me.
No, Mrs. Pastor said. I asked Shelley, but... Yes? Mrs. Pastor made a small, despairing gesture with her hand. She didn't know. I see. Do you know her well? Mrs. Pastor asked suddenly. And there was an edge to the question. The woman wanted to know if he had taken Harry's place in Shelley's life. We're just friends, Marvin said tactfully. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question of a moment ago, why Shelley wanted me to dig into your son's death. I honestly don't know the answer to that. Except I knew Harry and liked him, and we were going to have a throuple, but then I freaked out and killed him, and, that's why we're here. And I'm good at figuring things out.
I guess those are the reasons Shelley asked me. Mrs. Pastor nodded. Sadly. The police say it was suicide. I wish I didn't believe them. Sometimes it's hard to know what to believe, Marvin agreed, and his own words made him wonder.
Dun, 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 dun.
Chapter 8.
So many sounds are happening.
When Marvin got home, his mother was watching Casablanca, a movie that she had seen 200 times. Her eyes hardly stirred from the screen as he walked across the living room in front of her. It was 5 o'clock and getting dark. The sun never set without her being drunk, and she was drunk now. Fuck, that's sad. Hi, Mom.
Because her son is a dick.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom, he said. He leaned over and kissed her cheek. Have a nice day? It's all right. She lifted a lethargic hand and touched his side. Be a dear, Marvin, and make me some popcorn. Why don't I cook you some real food? We have chicken in the icebox. I could grill it and put it on some potatoes. Popcorn
Not if it's
would be
already frozen.
Fine. Is there butter? Yeah, I know, right?
Gotta thaw that shit.
Thaw that shit. Marvin sighed. There's butter. This is sad.
Oh, no.
Now I'm bummed out.
No, don't give it to me.
That's sad. I was gonna ask if you wanted another drink.
I do, actually. I was gonna get one, and then I was like...
Now seems as good a time as any.
Yeah.
Would you like a monument?
I guess. I'm cold. I was gonna get
We're
whiskey
gonna do
just because I'm
whiskey.
too cold for
Yeah,
beer.
let's do whiskey.
Yeah.
That's better to drink while we're reading about an
I'm just
alcoholic.
really freezing.
Yeah.
In the kitchen, he found Anne cooking them both dinner. She's 11.
Yep.
Oh.
This is really sad now.
Yeah. Anne had given up trying to get their mom to eat anything substantial. Their mom subsisted on popcorn, C's candies. I don't know what that means, but it's capitalized.
It's a brand, and it's definitely West Coast. So these,
okay.
It's I don't know if they're out of San Francisco, but you see it all the time in California. C's candies up and down the coast.
Gotcha. Okay. Popcorn, C's candies, white toast, and fast food pizza and tacos. And of course, booze.
Oh no!
What's wrong? What's wrong with that?
I know, we eat a lot of pizza and tacos. Anne was a good cook for a kid. She had taken the chicken and sauteed it in lemon and garlic sauce and sprinkled it with bits of saffron. Jesus, Anne, I've never even cooked with saffron. She was a master when it came to stuffed potatoes, and the one waiting for him was fat with sour cream, butter, and some kind of cheese from Switzerland.
You mean Swiss cheese, Marvin? You dip?
Some kind of Switzerland cheese. Marvin let Anne put the final touches on their meal while he got his mother's popcorn ready. But when he returned to the living room with the stuff, his mom was passed out on the couch. He set the bowl beside her and kissed her once more on the cheek. He was worried that one day he was going to find her in a similar position, curled up on the sofa, but dead. He and Anne ate in the kitchen. Anne wanted to know what he had been doing all day. He was worried about his book. Everyone was. He told her there was nothing to worry about. Because there's no book, he added.
Oh, no.
Are you getting any ideas? Anne asked. I am. One. What is it? Marvin didn't pause. The words jumped out of his mouth. God knew where they came from. The power. I don't believe Anne McGaffer was killed in the lake, he said. I don't even think she was killed near the lake. How did she get there, then?
I wonder where this idea came from.
Jamie, he named the dead girl in his book after his sister, because that's cool.
Yeah.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, ew.
This time, Marvin did pause to think, and what he'd been about to say slipped away and he couldn't get it back. I'm not sure, he muttered. I hope you get more ideas soon. I don't want to end up out on the streets.
Jesus.
I hear they can be hard on little girls.
He's literally
Marvin
a
agreed.
multi-millionaire. She's not going to end up in the streets.
I hear they can be hard on little girls, Marvin agreed.
Marvin!
That's horrible, Marvin.
Marvin. Have you ever seen a taxi driver?
God.
Oh, no.
Anne shook a layer of pepper onto her potato, which is a sentence that exists in this book that I am so glad I have read. So glad I've read, I will read it again.
The best part of the potato is the pepper.
Anne shook a layer of pepper onto her potato. Did you see Shelley today? Yes. What did you do? Marvin shrugged. Nothing. Did you kiss her? That's none of your business. Anne nodded. You kissed her. Actually, I didn't. We mainly talked about Harry Pastor. Shelley thinks he was murdered. She wants me to find the guy and bring him to justice. Are you kidding me? You're a child. I'm very serious, Marvin said. Anne's reaction surprised him. She looked scared. I bet she wants something else. Remember what the letter said. She doesn't love you like you think she does. Marvin was annoyed. How the hell would a complete stranger know how Shelley feels about me? Anne shook her head. You never know.
Oh my
so
God!
world weary.
Is Anne
At
writing
such a
the
young
letters?
age. They finished their dinner, and Anne stayed in the kitchen
I
to
think
do the
the-
dishes and clean up.
The letters are definitely someone he knows. They're either Anne or Shelley.
Yeah.
Or triad.
Hell
Hell
yeah.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah.
Marvin went up to his room to write a complete novel in a few hours.
Good luck, idiot.
What is this?
Yes.
None of this is ad-lib. Staring at the blank screen didn't do anything to soothe his nerves.
Ugh, that's too familiar. Finally, he picked up the phone and called Shelley.
That's not writing, Marvin.
Nope. That's like
It'll give
going
me
on the internet.
inspiration.
No, it won't. You're just gonna go down that hole, and you're gonna wake up, and there's gonna be nothing on the page, and I'm gonna stop because it's getting too personal.
It's too real.
Yeah. She had said Sunday night was no good, but he hadn't asked about tonight. He was missing her, in a bad way.
Jesus Christ.
He couldn't understand the hold she had over him. It's called
Lust? I don't know.
it's called lady.
It's called Lady. It's called Lady
called
and her
Lady.
parts.
Yeah. But he understood that nobody in love ever did. She answered promptly. She sounded out of breath. Hello? Hi, this is Marvin. How are you doing? Good, she said. Did you find out anything? A few things. I'd like to talk to you about them. Can I come over? When? Tonight sometime? I told you. Tonight's no good. He paused. Why not? I'm busy. Whew. He felt a stab of rejection and was mad at himself. He was acting as if he owned the girl just because she had sat naked in a jacuzzi with him. All right. I guess I'll have to
That's
wait
a little bit of
until-
self-awareness I wasn't expecting.
And
Yeah.
I had a thought. I had two thoughts immediately back to back. My first thought was, God, he really keeps just thinking about how she was naked in a jacuzzi with him. And then like before that thought ended, I thought, well, I would definitely. If I was 17 and I had been naked in a jacuzzi with a girl, literally that's all I would think about for 3 years.
Yeah, if I had seen that in person,
Yeah.
I
And I'd
would
just be like, how do I get back there?
yeah, I would be no good
How
for
do I
the
get
rest
back
of
to
my
that
life.
jacuzzi?
How do I get back to that? How do I make it happen again?
I want to go to there.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay,
Just-
it's on point, honestly.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'll have to wait until Monday night. We're going out, aren't we? Sure, she said, but tell me what you found out now. Nothing definite, but I am now open to the possibility that Harry was murdered because I want to see you naked in a jacuzzi once again. And, of course, she didn't seem surprised. You just keep working on it. I know you're the one who will clear Harry's name.
Because she knows
Maybe.
he's the writer.
She knows.
Yeah.
Maybe she knows he's the murderer.
Or that. Maybe she
Yeah,
witnessed
yeah,
it. Yeah.
And or.
Maybe. He strained his ears. He thought he heard water running in the background. I'm looking forward to
Is
Monday
she just
night.
like honeypotting every single guy in their grade into solving the murder? It's not just him. It's like
Yes.
She has, like,
literally
10
every guy
other
that she
dudes.
knows.
Yes, I hope so.
Triads
A
in
note of-
there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. A note of flirting entered her voice. So am I. I think it will be divine.
Jesus Christ.
Jinx.
Abruptly, her tone changed to brisk and businesslike. I've got to go now. Bye, Shelley. Marvin set down the phone. She was unpredictable, that girl was. He wondered if she was going out on a date then, and with whom. Marvin lay down on his bed. He'd take a nap, and when he woke, he'd start writing. That is the lie I told myself every single night in college.
Yeah, stop lying to yourself, Marvin.
Every single night.
I'm writing, Marvin still hasn't written shit.
Stay awake and keep writing now while you're horny.
No. Channel the horniness. He decided it didn't matter which direction he went in. He'd just follow his instincts. He was asleep in a minute. He was dreaming in 2. That was fucking poetry. He was a character in The Mystery of Silver Lake series. Oh, this is the dream. He was a character
Oh
in
yeah,
his...
he had like a weird freaky dream about the lake before.
Oh, right, yeah. He was a character in The Mystery of Silver Lake series, only he wasn't the same character in each scene. You know how dreams are. He kept changing into different people, like
You know how self-inserts are.
like an omniscient god. He knew what all his characters were feeling and thinking when he was in their heads. In the beginning, he was Anne McGaffer, sweet Anne who loved the unfaithful and volatile Clyde Fountaine,
Oh no. Oh no.
What?
who also, you remember that, Chris? Anne loved the
I just
unfaithful.
can't get over the names in this book.
I know, it's amazing.
Fountain.
Anne who loved the unfaithful and volatile Clyde
Jamie's
Fountaine.
little read on that.
And
Clyde Fountaine.
Clyde Fountain of the Northern Fountain.
he's
Fountain mogul.
yeah, the oil magnate, and who was also fond of the dear and sympathetic Mike Madison, a spiritual brother.
You know my brother, Mike Madison. Yeah.
What does that mean? Marvin followed Anne as she went to school during the first days of the story. He had to follow her because he was inside her body.
I don't like that phrasing. I don't like that phrasing. That's iggy.
Every time he walked past a mirror, he looked at himself and grabbed his boobs. She was
He looked at himself and made sure he was not a vampire.
Every time he went past a mirror, he did that thing where he pulled the elastic of whatever pants he was wearing and looked down and be like, oh.
Why would he need
Not
to do that in
bad.
front of a mirror?
It's just like it's a body swap trope. Whenever they swap bodies, they're always just like, oh, I have a dick now, or the opposite, you know.
What a hog!
What a hog is what they usually say.
It would be like, "Where's my hog?
Where's my hog?
Where's my hog?"
Dude, where's
my hog?
classic
Where's your hog, dude?
2000s movie?
What if they made a
Dude, Where's
sequel
My
to
Hog?
Dude, Where's My Car, but it was a body swap movie, and it was Dude, Where's My Hog?
Or no, or a horror slant, Dude, Where's My Corpse?
Ah.
What?
What?
If they did a horror slant as a sequel to Dude, Where's My Car, but it's like a zombie comedy, a rom-zom-com,
Rom-com.
and it's Dude, Where's My Corpse?
It's okay. I like Dude, Where's My Hog better. It's much funnier to me.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Chris.
Well, you know,
They can't all be winners.
Where's my
can't-
hog,
you-
son?
you
Hog
can't
is a
teach
very
taste.
funny word.
Chris, don't tell
I
me
was
you're
in my
For a
wiener.
dick,
Don't
for
tell-
a dick, hog is the funniest.
That's what I'm saying. Don't
Yes.
tell me you're not laughing at the word
Because
hog.
no one, I can't believe anyone genuinely calls it that, but in so much TV they call it that.
Have you seen my hog?
He's seen my hog.
We simply must move on.
Oh, I could do this
Where's
for
my
hours.
wiener? I'm missing my foot long.
We simply must move on. That's
hang
what
on,
she
Jamie.
said.
This movie that we are currently writing, that is the sequel to Dude, Where's My Car, in which it's a body swap, is also a period piece from the 20s based on the way you're saying everything.
Wow, yes it is.
Transatlantic.
Yeah,
Yeah, say yeah.
I dare say someone's stolen my schlong.
Someone took my bangers and mash.
I don't appear to have the same particulars I did before.
Dear God, man. Who stole my jewels?
Oh my god. I know what I'm writing tomorrow. Okay. Where the fuck am I? He had to follow her because he was inside her body, right? Okay. She was so beautiful. She was so beautiful. Everywhere she went, heads turned. But
Is
not
this the
all
power?
Yeah. But not all the people behind But not all the fucking writing, I swear to God. But not all the people behind these heads were happy to see her.
Jesus Christ.
Many were jealous, and Anne felt the hate flowing from their sidelong glances like the Emperor would want her to. The price of popularity, and no one was more popular than Anne, except she didn't know how much she had going for her. What?
You don't know you're beautiful.
Oh yeah, she's beautiful and she doesn't know it, just the way men like women.
Yeah. Does she need to put her hair down and take her glasses off?
Yeah. No, she needs a guy to tell her how pretty she is.
Oh, she's got to be like, you don't have to wear makeup.
Yeah. I like
Also,
you better
Bekah,
without makeup.
Becca, your eyes work fine. The page is blurry for the rest of us, too.
Thank you. This entire page is so blurry
It is crazy
that
blurry.
I am not excited
I
about
saw that
this.
too. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
She was so unhappy. So am I. She meets Clyde at lunch and asks where he was the previous night. She had called so many times. He just gets angry and won't say. How can he? How can he?
How can
Marvin
he?
shifts to inside Clyde's head and sees that Clyde has been with Jessica Moss the previous night. Jessica, Anne's best friend, the only person in the whole world she trusts completely.
Oh, dear.
Clyde had not only been with Jessica, he had been making passionate love to her on the hood of her green Alfa Romeo.
Damn!
The sexiest of cars.
It's like a Poison video.
Clyde and Anne have a short but intense fight, and Anne stalks off. Marvin was now back in her brain. She runs into the sweet and smiling Mike Madison. I feel like my eyes are going to fall out of my head. It's so blurry.
I'm also, this whole time, are you also thinking like, okay, so every single person in this book is like, not allegory, but like a stand-in for the people that he knows?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like Anne is Shelley, Clyde is probably Triad.
Hell yeah.
But Anne dies, so I think that Anne is Harry, but I haven't thought about it too hard.
I don't know.
All right, let me try this again. Mike listens patiently while Anne explains how hard it is being with Clyde. Oh, Mike is definitely fucking Marvin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then Mike takes her back to his place and somehow manages to get her clothes off.
In the jacuzzi?
Somehow.
They make love in front of his fireplace. The sex is great for both of them. But afterward, Mike feels guilty because Anne is involved with another guy, and Anne feels guilty because to do so is her natural state.
What?
To feel guilty?
You know how women are.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I
You know,
just remembered
because
all these characters
everything in
are...
existence is their fault because of the Eve situation.
Yeah. I just remembered actually all these characters are standing for Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Not, yeah, it's just Twin Peaks.
Oh, I see.
Jesus Christ.
Mike is James, Clyde is Bobby, Anne is Laura Palmer.
My brain is soup right now, trying to read this blurry page. Yet, it's possible Mike's guilt is only an act. Marvin can't exactly get into his head, which is strange because Mike is the most like him. Yep.
Oh.
Mike and Anne agree that they must never have sex again, at least not in the immediate future. But they do it again 10 minutes after making this vow, and it's better than the first time. You know, high
know how
school kids are
teenagers are.
really good at having sex.
You know how,
It's so good.
you know how good and often teenagers have sex?
Meanwhile, Marvin experiences a leap in consciousness and finds Clyde out drinking with his best friend, Terry Rogers, Triad.
Triad, hell yeah.
Triad.
Clyde is telling Terry what a bitch Anne has become, and Terry encourages Clyde to dump Anne while the dumping is good.
Dumping while the dumping is good.
Oh, right,
Sentence.
because Triad and Harry were best friends.
Yes.
yeah.
So Clyde is Harry. I'm in like the stand-in, yeah, Clyde.
But Clyde's not dead.
Well,
But, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
yeah.
But Marvin can see that Terry is only telling Clyde this because he wants Anne for himself. I barely processed any of that information.
Have we met the Sherilyn Fenn of this, or?
No.
Oh, man. I can't wait until we do.
I know.
Heck yeah. Also, the Terry guy, it's heck yeah instead of hell yeah.
Oh, yes. See, I was going to say, if it was Shirley and Fenn, I would be like, fuck yeah.
Or heck yes. Heck yes.
Bully, bully.
In Silver Lake, everyone is screwing everyone else.
Jesus
But
Christ.
time goes on. Days and pages pass. Marvin feels the tension building in everyone. The sexual tension. Clyde hates Anne, but still lusts after her. Mike loves Anne and hates Clyde. Terry, heck yeah, thinks he loves Anne, but really hates her, along with Clyde and Mike.
Oh, God.
But life is
make
hardest
a
for Anne.
diagram.
Yeah, seriously.
Does Mike hate Anne?
Mike loves Anne.
Terry thinks he loves Anne, but really hates her, along with Clyde and Mike.
And Mike loves, Mike loves
But-
Anne.
See, if they all got in a throuple, some of this shit would be.
Yeah, an orgy would
out.
fix this.
Yeah.
Or it would like close some doors that need to be closed.
Yeah. Set some boundaries.
Like a lot of thruples do. It's just like, yeah, this part doesn't work.
Yeah.
Anyway, but life is hardest for Anne. Her father, Bill McGaffer, comes in late one night drunk and abuses her, making her want to commit suicide.
Jesus.
Then her crazy younger brother, Harold McGaffer, who thinks the Antichrist is reincarnated in the hulls of donuts throughout the western United States, tries to convince Anne that Clyde is trying to kill her, leading her to believe she is a tragic victim in a poorly written soap opera, and often feels like this anyway.
Wait,
Oh
Marvin.
my God.
Marvin, you can't just go through through the reincarnated holes of Satan in
That's
donuts.
a subplot, man.
You cannot just drop that and keep going. Like
It's a
Also,
subplot.
for the listener, as written. That was all as written.
Yeah, shock on our faces. I'd read this book.
I would read the Antichrist donut hole.
Yeah.
I would be
Thing.
furious if I was reading this book. If I was reading that book and then the fucking donut holes came
Yeah.
up, I'd be furious.
Again, though, I will say, if I was watching Twin Peaks and that was a subplot that a character thought that donut holes were
But that's
Antichrist,
Twin Peaks.
I'd be like, yeah, makes sense, love it.
Then all goes dark and cold. Marvin can feel an icy spray beating against Anne's soaked flesh. As in the beginning, so it is in the end.
What?
He is inside Anne, and there is terrible pain.
What are you reading the Bible?
He sees a flash of white light, a scene glimpsed in the high beams of a distant automobile. He steps out of her ravaged body and turns 180 degrees, or he could just say turns around. In space and sees behind him. The horror of the moment shakes him to the core. Poor Anne. She is hanging by a rope tied round her waist in the middle of the night, dangling off a bridge in a cruel breeze. She is screaming. She is dying, but no one can hear her. And in the end, she realizes no one cares. Except Marvin, who always loved her.
Isn't that exactly how probably Harry died?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think Harry's Anne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
yeah.
I'd have to, like, use brain power to figure out who everyone else is, and I don't feel like
Marvin
Shelley
is
is
the
the-
murderer.
Shelley's the killer. She wants to be caught.
Also,
Oh.
shit, Chris. Didn't they also say, though, way early in
I'm
the
a
book
detective.
about the Anne McGaffrey thing that she had been raped and murdered? Not like I want to get into that.
Yeah,
I
like
feel
maybe
like they
Harry
did.
wasn't all that great.
They did.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe Harry raped Shelley. Shelley killed Harry, but feels bad about it. Wants to be caught. So she and I want to think like she knows Marvin is Mac Slate the whole time.
Yeah.
but she wants him to find out that she killed her. I don't. We're only on page 101.
It's the classic tale of the telltale
We're approaching the middle
hot
of the
tub.
book.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
telltale
that's-
hot tub.
The Telltale Hot Tub.
Hot tub!
That's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
It's like you've been reading it with us all along, Jamie.
Those blasted beating of the bubbles!
Also, Jamie, returning champion, I just want to say you're great at this show.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh man. Even when he knew,
Just
she was
writing that
as
prediction
corrupt
down.
as the rest. Okay, and then there's a pause.
Later.
Marvin woke later. Later at the halls of justice.
Meanwhile,
Marvin woke to a small hand shaking him. Huh? He asked, bolting upright with a start, his heart pounding. Anne was sitting on the bed beside him, her face twisted in anxiety.
I wasn't murdering anyone in my dreams.
Marvin! She croaked. What is it? He demanded, coming fully alert. There was some noise coming from downstairs, but he wasn't sure what it was about. Anne wept.
Oh, no.
Daddy's here! He's breaking things!
Oh, this is... I don't like this.
Oh, this is really sad.
This
Yeah.
is not going to be
no.
fun at all.
Oh, no.
Ugh. Marvin leapt off his bed and ran downstairs, Anne following. For such a menacing bully, his father was not a big man. Only 5'8". 5'8's pretty big.
Yeah.
Is it? I feel like
No.
5'8's
For
pretty
a
big.
man.
No.
Well, I mean...
No.
Like, I'm
5'8".
5'6".
You're 5'6".
Yeah, I'm a shrimp.
Aw.
5'8's not that... You know, it's medium height, average. Yeah.
It's not like tall.
Hey, he's not tall. He could
Yeah.
be, you know, bulky.
Is
Yeah.
he a beefy 5'8"?
That's what I'm saying. He
Yeah,
could
is
be
he like
beefy.
Bob Hoskins? Actually, I don't know if he's short. He just seems like he's short.
He's definitely
I
short.
feel like Bob Hoskins is short.
Bob Hoskins
Yeah.
is probably like 5'8" and, you know, beefy.
Yeah.
Also,
Kick the shit out of you.
Oh,
for
yeah.
a bit of fun,
Yeah.
this is a bit of a callback, but like just Google image search Alfa Romeo 90s and see how fancy this car was.
Oh, the car that they fucked on?
It really was not.
Okay, I
It
gotta
looks
look.
like literally every other 90s
Bob
car.
Hoskins was 5'4" and a half.
5'4" and a half.
He was barely taller than me.
He was not
Bob-
tall.
menacing
Bob Hoskins-
motherfucker.
But
He would have been a
yeah,
great
he was
Wolverine.
certainly menacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be terrified of Bob Hoskins. There was that movie with him and Jet Li. I can't remember
Danny
the name
the
of it.
dog.
Yeah.
Danny the dog.
He was like a
Yeah,
mob
so
boss
good.
who like imprisoned Jet Li and like
Yeah.
made him and like treated him like a dog, literally,
You're my
and like
dog.
made him his like fighting dog. And Bob Hoskins was fucking scary in that movie.
Yeah, that movie was great.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Only 5'8" and not more than 140 pounds. Yet
Wow.
what muscles were
Wait.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yet what muscles were there were difficult to subdue when he was enraged.
Oh, so he was wiry.
Weary.
I don't know. I'm looking at a picture of an Alfa Romeo from the 90s, and I can absolutely picture these teens fucking on this car. That is a car you fuck on.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as cheesy as I thought it would for some reason.
Yeah. No, it's definitely...
It just doesn't look different enough from any other car from that time period. Like, if you looked at it, you wouldn't be immediately be like, oh, that's an Alfa Romeo. It's just like, oh, that is a sedan.
That's
Yeah.
a fucking car.
That's a fucking car. That car's got a hood for fucking...
Oh,
Is that hood reinforced?
It is now.
it's got a roll cage.
Okay.
Just the hood, though.
Oh man, Marvin had only fought with his father twice, and he couldn't have said either of them had come away victorious either time. His mom was standing in front of the TV screaming at his dad. She may have been protecting the picture tube.
Picture tube?
The picture tube.
Reread that sentence, but in the most dramatic way possible.
She may have been protecting the picture tube.
That's not a thing anyone said ever.
No. Well, she did exclusively watch movies from the 30s.
Christopher Pike invented a
Still,
new
though.
sentence.
Marvin's dad had a lamp in his shaking hands, and it looked as if he wanted to ram it through Humphrey Bogart's face.
She was still watching Casablanca.
They were both exhaling 80 proof. It was amazing that
Jesus.
someone's breath hadn't caught on fire yet.
You're a sick woman,
and I'm gonna kill you, his father screamed. Now get out of my way. Marvin, stop him, his mother cried. His father whirled on him. What are you gonna do here?
Oh, this is a bummer.
Don't like it.
I like to think it was like Turner Classic Movies before they had a budget, so they only had the one movie, which
Yeah.
is just Casablanca on repeat.
It's a Casablanca
Yeah.
marathon.
Yeah. Ugh, this is a bummer.
I live here, Marvin said calmly. Put that thing down. It's our best lamp.
It's pretty solid, Marvin.
Added nothing. Oh, god damn it. I don't give a damn about your best anything, his dad yelled. I am sick and tired of this pathetic family. Every time I come over here, the TV is on. Well, I'm turning it off for good. That's what he's mad about?
Yeah. Our TV was on 24/7
Yeah.
in the 90s.
Yeah, it's the 90s.
What was the problem?
What are you supposed to do? Not watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
I was raised by TV, and I
Not
turned
what-
out TV.
That's the 100th time Chris has said that, and it's never old.
It's never been less true.
Yeah. With that pronouncement, his dad reached out, grabbed his mother by the hair, and threw her onto the floor.
Oh no.
Anne ran to her aid. Before Marvin could stop him, his dad had rammed the top of the lamp into the picture tube, is what we're still calling it,
No one calls it
picture
that.
which had cost Marvin $500 last month to replace.
You could. So what is this like a monthly thing? He comes over,
He comes
to
over and
smash
smashes the TV. Yeah. The
We need a new picture tube.
The thing imploded like a miniature bomb. I don't think that's how.
What's a
it
cathode
works.
ray tube?
Tube,
So like,
tube TVs can explode.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I was
yeah.
gonna say. They don't implode. They specifically
Explode.
Explode.
That's how.
See-
they're full of gas.
Marvin hasn't actually lived a life. He's just making up words.
Yeah.
He's a bad writer. Glass
Yeah.
sprayed the entire living room, particularly Anne,
So
who stood
explode.
sheltering her mother.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
light,
god,
and,
Christopher Pike. It was not an implosion, it was an explosion.
so light and fragile, Anne was almost knocked down by the shockwave. Dazed,
What?
she tried to pull shards from her hair and ended up cutting herself.
And
Blood covered her hands, and she stared at them with a blank expression. Now that made Marvin mad. This is...
Kill your father, Marvin!
Yeah. Marvin...
Be a man
I
and
don't
kill
like
your
you,
father!
Marvin, but get rid of your
Be a
dad.
man and kill your father. If I named episodes, that's what this episode would be named. Marvin charged his dad without a clear plan as to what he was doing. Well, that's
Kill
fair.
him.
They collided in front of the TV. That's what we're calling it now.
Picture tube.
And went down.
Well, the tubes are gone, I guess.
Oh, it's true. The tube
Yeah.
exploded. And went. They collided in front of the TV and went down on the glass-covered carpet. They rolled on top of each other, scrambling for an advantage. Marvin had the advantage this time because he was sober. He was younger and stronger, and he was not drunk, like I just said.
Yep.
Alcohol brought on his dad's rage and gave him strength, but the guy had drunk one too many. Marvin was surprised at how easily he was able to pin his father beneath his knees. "Stop it, Dad!" he shouted at him. "Bastard son!" his dad yelled back. He spit in
Are
Marvin's
you not
face.
the father?
This is
Oh,
crazy.
no.
Hey, Bekah,
Oh,
here's a really
no.
blurry page for you to read again.
What the
Oh,
fuck?
Jesus.
Why? I hate this.
It really looks like it's like out of focus.
It's just gonna be every fourth page is blurry
Marvin's dad
as
is
shit.
so drunk.
Oh yeah, you're viewing it through Marvin Dad's eyes.
Marvin Dad.
Marvin Dad.
Or unclearly, I should say.
This is upsetting.
All right, we can't stop too much because I'm gonna die
Yeah.
trying to read this.
Okay.
Something happened to Marvin right then. It wasn't so much the spit or the broken tube or even Anne's bloody hands. Was there spit?
His dad spit
he
in his face.
Okay. I was lost at bastard son. I forgot about the spit.
It was bastard son, but two.
Pachoo.
Borrow again real quick.
It's just, you know, I almost would rather there be incest than this.
For context, Jamie,
Yeah,
there's
sorry,
always
Jamie.
incest in Christopher Pike books. And by always, I mean 2 out of 3 so far. And we
Yeah.
were verging on 3 earlier in
Jury's
the book.
out on this one.
He
Yeah.
said that Anne was more beautiful than Shelley.
Yeah,
That's-
he usually
that's not-
sneaks
that's
the
not good.
incest in the 11th hour of these
Yeah.
books.
Oh, no.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yep, it is.
It is, though.
It is if it's incest. It was everything combined, perhaps, and maybe something else he didn't understand. Marvin lost it. He yanked his dad to his feet and punched the guy in the face with everything he had.
Nice.
His father crumpled to the floor, his face bloody, and Marvin yanked him to his feet again and kicked him hard in the groin.
Nice.
His dad was screaming for mercy
No
when Marvin
mercy.
yanked him to his feet for a third time.
Yes.
But there was no mercy in Marvin. He pulled back his fist again. "Marvin!" his mother cried, grabbing hold of his arm. Marvin looked over at her and didn't see her for a moment. He saw an older version of Anne McGaffer instead.
What?
An
That's
aged Anne brought back to life for a moment to prevent him from fulfilling his destiny. Is she Anne?
What?
I have no
Are
idea.
they all Anne?
They're all Anne. I don't know.
Because right then there was nothing more satisfying in all the world to Marvin than the thought of beating his father's face to an unrecognizable purple pulp.
There is no Dana, only Anne.
You could at least like punch him in the dick again.
Yeah, that's a good move. "Marvin," Anne said, and he had to look down to find her. Obviously, she's a child.
Yeah.
She was tugging on his shirt, staining it with the blood that had begun to trickle over her arms. He was frightened by her fear because it was not directed at her father, but at him. "Let him go," Anne whimpered. Marvin released his father. The man fell to the floor in a lump of pain. His mother and Anne knelt to attend to him. Marvin turned and fled upstairs to his room. There he grabbed his helmet, wallet, checkbook, and Harry's leather jacket. I'm just going to finish this because the chapter's almost over.
Yeah.
He didn't even look into the living room as he ran down the stairs and out of the house. He climbed on his bike and roared off into the night. He drove as though he were fleeing the scene of a murder he had committed.
Dun,
Ba,
dun,
ba,
dun.
ba, ba, ba.
How would he know how that feels?
I know,
Right,
lots
right.
of experience.
Oh, I'm a writer. That's how.
Yeah, I am so creative.
Okay, that seems as good a time as any to stop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that chapter 8?
That was chapter 8. That was chapter 8.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
That
Oh.
was brutal. Oof, what a way to end it.
All right, so we're about halfway through at this point.
We are,
and,
yeah.
I had a new theory,
Okay.
and well, I already said it. I don't remember it at this point, but
That
that's
Shelley
Shelley.
killed Harry and wants to be caught.
yeah, and because this entire book's just a fucking fever dream.
It really is.
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't like Marvin, but I'm glad he beat the shit out of his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Me too. I wish he'd killed him.
Sometimes there is like over brutalized violence and things, but sometimes it just feels very
earned.
righteous.
Yeah.
Yeah, a righteous bludgeoning, as we call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always great. It's just like, yeah, beat the shit out of your dad.
Yeah, kick him in the dick.
And I say that as someone that loves I love my dad. I love the shit out of my
Yeah.
dad. I would never beat the shit out of him. But like, when dads earn it, it's
But
always
yeah,
the
like
best.
if he sprayed glass all over your little sister
yeah.
and she was bleeding,
Yeah.
That's an ass
yeah.
whooping.
bludgeon that dick.
I wouldn't
That's a foot in your
bludgeon
dick.
that dick.
Yeah.
Literally.
More so when you're a secret millionaire and you're just like, I can afford lawyers to fight this.
Yeah.
That's a motorcycle into your dick. That's true.
I wouldn't be that
I mean,
my dad.
if
but
I was rich,
he was like
if I-
this, I would.
Yeah.
If I was rich, I would beat the shit out of random people because I can afford it.
That's not okay.
Random people or people who deserve it?
I mean, no, random people that deserve it.
Random people that
So
random
you're just
people that
Batman?
deserve
You're
it.
just gonna be
yeah,
Batman?
it's a Batman.
Yeah,
Just be a
It's
rich
just-
vigilante.
Instead of spending money on gadgets, I would spend it on lawyer fees.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's so
Like,
much
I would
more
do it in
boring
the
than
light of
gadgets.
day.
I've thought that.
You'd have to be in trial all the time.
I've thought that not about vigilanteism. Mine's much more petty. I've thought that about if I had like all of the money in the world, I would hit my car into other cars that were being dicks.
Bumper cars, yeah.
like if someone's like driving like an absolute asshole or being like a total cock on the road, I would just. There
You
have
hit
been.
them and be like, oh no,
Yeah,
I'm
no, there have
so
been times where I'm like,
sorry.
man, I wish I could ram my car into yours with no
I feel like we've
consequences.
talked about this before. Like you death-proof your car, like
Yeah.
reinforce it.
I would death-proof my car,
Just
and I
slam
would
into
just
people
like
being
I'd have
dicks.
enough money in lawyers and in good insurance to be like, I'd smash up a car of an asshole and then be like, fucking bill me, dick. Like this
Yeah,
is
no,
way more inconvenient for you now.
My scenario is way more pathetic. It's just like, no, if I see someone being a complete dickwad, I would pick a fight with them.
Yours is
They,
more
they would
altruistic than
probably
mine.
win. I'm gonna make it worse. They
Yeah.
would probably win, and then I would sue them
Oh,
Interesting.
It's like a
because
bait
I
and
have the
switch.
money to afford it.
Yeah.
Because I have lawyers that would take them to the cleaners and be like, yeah,
I've
yo,
never
you whooped my ass.
Becca,
Thought
what
of
weird
any-
shit would
now.
you do with money?
I've never thought of any like legal
Like
or
petty-
fight-based
Yeah.
scenarios for if I had a lot of money. I just pay off debt,
I mean, I would pay off. That'd be the first thing I do. See, the thing is,
go on a trip.
I would-
Also, disclaimer: I wouldn't actually do that.
I would like to think that, you know, money,
I think about it real hard, though.
because like money equals power and power corrupts. I would like to think that like I wouldn't be corrupted by like a lot of money and turn into like a monster, like a legit monster. I would just do like dumb, silly shit like that. Yeah. What like ridiculous shit like that? Have you ever never thought of that?
No. I just want to pay off debt so that like my paycheck can go into savings and fun stuff.
Yeah,
And
okay.
not just debt.
I always joke that I would, if I had Bruce Wayne money, it's like,
Bruce Wayne
oh no,
money,
I would
yeah.
totally have a bat cave and like all the gadgets and stuff, but I wouldn't fight crime.
Jamie, if you had Bruce Wayne money,
I would just hang out in the bat cave.
is there anything like weird and like not like bad but like petty that you would do?
I would be dumb. I would do what I'm doing now, except like the money would buy me time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have to worry about like anyone buying my stuff. I would have more time to make the stuff.
Yeah.
And then I would buy an old theater
Okay. Listen.
and anytime that a remake comes out or a reboot or anything like that, I would play the original.
That's so good.
I would play the
amazing.
original.
So good.
And I would
That's
be in
amazing.
business forever because that's all they do now. And I was like, I would just play the originals, and there
Oh
would
my
be
God, that's
a comic shop
amazing.
attached to it, and there'd be
Yes.
a cafe attached to it, and I would just live there, like watch all and like Godzilla -1. I would just run that. Anytime there was like a big tokusatsu movie in Japan, I would run that. It would be this weird indie theater with a comic shop and a cafe.
That's-
just like in
Sounds
France.
That
amazing.
sounds fucking great. Okay, you win.
I would
you
just,
win this.
I
Yeah.
would
Question.
also be rich and then just work in your cafe for fun because I miss working in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
often
and I
thought
would just
that
hire
if-
my friends.
Yeah, I've
I
often
would
thought
totally
if I was
get jobs for fun if I was rich.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I thought that like I would
I'd
want to
just
be
be like, how
like a
quickly can I get
barista
fired?
/ bartender.
See,
Yeah.
I would like that, but only in an environment where it isn't a fucking nightmare. And I feel like working
yeah, like,
at
not like at
Starbucks these
Frasier's.
days is probably an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it would have to be something cool, like Common Ground,
Yeah.
like a cool shop. Yeah. Have you, Jamie? Have you seen Godzilla -1?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, I want to see it.
It's so good.
I have not seen it yet.
I think this week they're running the black and white version of it,
Oh,
and it's not just they didn't just put a filter of it. Like they did a full conversion, so it's like it looks amazing from what I
Interesting.
understand. I've
And-
seen
and
clips
it-
of it, but
From what I've read about it, it's a Godzilla movie where the human element of it is actually worth it.
yeah,
unlike
oh, yeah.
all the American versions.
yeah. It's weird because like I love
I
all
sort
the,
of watch big things hit each other.
yeah, that's exactly why I love Godzilla movies because they're goofy and they're fun. And this is one of the few times where I actually give a shit about the characters.
Yeah.
And they did an amazing job. Like it's scary. It makes you feel things. It's close to like the original one, Godzilla 54. And it just I don't know. It grips you in a way that you don't think a Godzilla movie can.
That's the main thing I've heard is everyone who's seen it has been like, I had no idea that I was gonna feel like this watching a
Yeah.
Godzilla movie.
Now I'm
Yeah.
hesitant because I don't want to get gripped.
You don't want to feel things.
Yeah, I feel things all the time.
Chris,
I
I
don't
think
need
you-
help doing that.
Didn't we? You, me, and Dane went and saw like one of the last Godzilla movies in the theater a while ago, and I just remember us like all of the new like American Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah.
I've come out thinking I liked the Godzilla parts, and I don't give a fuck about a single human. Like I do
yeah.
not give a shit about like 90% of the plot. I don't know why
Yeah.
they cannot get like the human element right at all
yeah.
in those movies. But yeah, I do really want to see Godzilla -1 because all I've heard is like incredible stuff.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
we took our daughter to it and she loved it.
Nice. How old is she?
She's 9. She's turning 10 soon. So
Awesome.
we weren't
You're
sure,
a
but
cool
she was like,
parent.
"Yeah, let's go see it." We asked her, like, we gave her a choice. There were a couple of movies in the theaters. I
Like
think
that
it was
or Mean
like
Girls.
Wish, the Troll movie.
Kids don't deserve choices; they're property.
Yeah. Wish, Trolls, or Godzilla -1, and she was like, "We're watching Godzilla."
That's awesome.
Was a part of you like, yes?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
You're like, yeah,
I
did
do
it. I did
not
it
want
right.
to watch those other movies.
Me and Audrey looked at each other. We're like, "Yeah."
It's amazing.
That's great.
Awesome.
You're doing a great job.
But yeah, I highly recommend it.
Cool. Yeah. I know it's still in theaters. I hope to check it out while it's still in
Yeah.
theaters because it seems like one of those like you should see it in a theater. It seems insane.
I think it'll with how popular it is. I think it'll probably get like a home release, like DVD or Blu-ray or something like that. So
Yeah.
we'll be able to see it. But yeah, the theater experience. This is one where it definitely grabs you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being on this episode. What did you think of Christopher Pike?
Jesus Christ. So horny and so traumatizing.
Yeah, that's
And just God, how did we survive this era? Just oh my God.
I did not read these when I was young.
Yeah.
John did.
I didn't read all the ones we've read so far. I didn't read. I know I did read Christopher Pike.
Do you remember which ones?
I don't because I think I honestly I think I got them from the library. I don't think I ever owned any of them because
Well, Marvin hates libraries.
I know. Because
Christopher Pike wasn't getting royalties off of that, just so you know.
I think if I had bought any Christopher Pike books, I would still have them because I still have all of those books that I read, like the ones that I owned as a kid. I still have them all. So I don't think that I would have gotten rid of them. I feel like I remember borrowing them from like the library, and I feel like I might have borrowed them from like other classmates. So I remember like classmates lending me some shit to read that was like this stuff. And there's a specific book I remember reading, or I think it was like a trilogy. There's like a vampire trilogy, and I feel like it was basically like an Anne Rice vampire book, but for teens. So not as erotic, but still like
From what
pretty
we've read
fucking
of
horny.
Christopher Pike,
Well, yeah.
like I can only imagine.
I just remember reading shit when I was like 12 and being like pretty horny for it. Yeah. And like knowing that I was reading, I was like punching above my weight. Like I was like, I know I'm not supposed to be reading this shit right now. I remember reading a book that I don't know if it was Fear Street or Christopher Pike. There was a book specifically where the main character was a deaf girl, because I remember that was like an interesting perspective, that the main character was a girl who was deaf, and she went to a party and she like felt the vibration of the music to be able to like dance to it, and then like people started dying. But I don't remember what that was.
That does sound interesting.
It sounds like, I have these like flashes of memories, and I can't remember what the fuck any of them were.
There was a book
We
series.
drink too much.
Well, we drink too much now. I just also have a really terrible... I don't remember who any of my teachers were when I was a child.
There was a book series I read when I was younger where I'm pretty sure the main character was like a young girl, like a, high school, whatever, a girl named Gaia. And she had a photographic memory, but how she would remember stuff is she would say click, like she was taking a picture.
Yes,
and
you've
I
talked
don't
about
know
this.
what they were
Yeah.
called. Oh,
man.
have
I remember
I need to
that.
look
I
those
remember you
up.
talking about this, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that book?
I'll look it up. Maybe we should read those at some point, but we should also at the
click,
episode.
and they would take a memory of it.
Yeah. We'll find it. We'll try and find
was
these
that?
books. I don't know.
That's wild.
But yeah, okay. So this book is bonkers. We're like halfway through, so I feel like it's gonna keep going in like really, really, really intense, weird directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens because it's so nuts. Jamie, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Oh, thanks for having me.
What do you want to plug for anyone listening?
All my stuff. Well, I have a book in stores now. It's called School for Extraterrestrial Girls, Volume 2, Girls in Flight.
Nice.
Volume 1 is out in stores. So I'm working on Volume 3. So when they were talking about like blowing deadlines and shit being late and stuff, I just started on book 3, but like the first 2 were kind of late. Like I did the first one right before the pandemic, and then the second one hit while the while the pandemic was going. So that one took a long time, and it was just but yeah, check out my books, and then all my other stuff is at JamieNoguchi.com. I have a website now.
Nice. Excellent. Cool. Yeah. And I follow your TikTok, and I enjoy it a lot. So everyone should follow your TikTok. I just like I like seeing you your drawing. I enjoy watching other artists, and especially like my friends who are artists. I like watching them draw. It's fun.
What is his TikTok?
I don't know.
Jamie Noguchi.
Yeah.
For once I did my
spell it out for people.
Oh yeah, for once I did the branding correctly. Jamie, Jamie, Noguchi, Noguchi, like the sculptor.
And your name will be on this episode in the description, and I'll tag you when I post it.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming back. We'll have you on again sometime. And this is fun. Anyone wants to check out the rest of our stuff, go to cactusrodeo.com/podcast. We listen to the rest of Below Grade Level back catalog. We have a ton of episodes to listen to, and listen to our other show, The Sketchy Show, which just dropped a new episode for the first one in like almost a year, which is my bad, but we're getting back into it. and Bekah's show CD Reads, which is a good listen for any romance novel enthusiasts. And sometimes I do comics, but not very often. So just just go look at all of our stuff.
And I'm on the Sketchy Show as well.
That's right.
Doing all sorts of stuff, and that's me as well. I said as well twice. It's perfectly natural. This is how people normally talk.
That's how we talk.
As well.
As well.
And to you, sir. Excuse me.
As well.
Well, tune in next time to find out what happens with Marvin, Shelley, Harry's death, and the abusive father.
And the rope burns.
And the rope
Don't
burns.
forget the rope
What
burns.
happened with the rope burns and the blisters on his hands and the oil stains.
And Triad.
And Triad.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know what the worst part about this is, though?
What's that?
I actually do want to know what happens.
Oh, I'm dying to know. I'm dying to. We do this like once a week, honestly, and each week it's like the highlight of the week because I'm like, I can't fucking wait to find out what happens in these dumb fucking books.
It's just such a commitment.
Tune in next time, and we love you. Bye.
Bye.
Below Grade Level is a Cactus Radio production. You can contact us at podcast@cactusrodeo.com. Subscribe and follow on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, and follow Cactus Rodeo on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more entertainment and updates.